Clefairy knows how to pilot a UFO spacecraft. This is how the Clefairy species made it from the moon to Earth, presumably. And no, I'm not making things up. This is a genuine, canonical piece of information, and it occurred in the Pokemon television show. Rocket-propelled Mexican is the one who brought this to my attention. I suppose if anybody knows about space travel, it would be them. And I'd like to thank you, Rocket-propelled Mexican, because this is a pressing matter that we are not talking about enough. The implications of this are out of this world, if you don't mind my saying. How did Clefairy build such complex machinery and learn how to operate it? Are there enough raw materials on the moon to create such an advanced piece of technology? This is my first question. This would also imply that Clefairies are a more scientifically advanced species than humans in the Pokemon universe, with the capacity to create something so impressive. I don't believe humans have invented such sophisticated spacecrafts in the Pokemon world, so what I'm wondering is, does the government know about this? Are Clefairies a threat? In the Pokemon television show, this is all played off as a little bit of silly fun and some light-hearted hijinks, but I think that we should be taking this more seriously. In the storyline, Clefairy is landing in human cities, stealing human technology to create more advanced spacecrafts. Ash and his friends are more concerned with getting Jigglypuff's microphone back so that Jigglypuff can continue to sing. You could just get another microphone, that's not a big problem. The greater concern is that a simple microphone can be stolen by Clefairy and apparently used for technological advancement that we can scarcely fathom as a species. That's the real antagonistic threat here, and you have the wrong idea, Ash. I guess you're only a child, you don't understand the ramifications of what's happening, but I mean, imagine what these Clefairies could be capable of if they stole a more advanced piece of technology, like for example an iPod Nano, or the Juicero Smart Juicer Machine. With technology like that, they might just be ready to conquer Earth. And I have another shocking revelation for you. Do not be alarmed when I say this. In the Pokemon universe, the real-world animal, the Indian elephant, canonically exists. Indian elephants exist in the Pokemon world. This was brought to my attention by Mr. Business, who is known to speak cryptically. He simply said Indian elephant, and I was left to intuit the rest myself. I looked up Indian elephant Pokemon, and lo and behold, the truth hit me like a truck to the face, and I don't know if I'll ever be the same. Now, there are some other mentions of real-world animals scattered throughout Pokemon lore, like insects and bugs and stuff like that, but Indian elephants are the most specific and alarming, in my opinion. In the Pokedex entry for Raichu in Pokemon Fire Red, it states that Raichu's electric charge can reach even 100,000 volts, and careless contact can cause even an Indian elephant to faint. This is just so strange. Why an Indian elephant in particular? Are other elephants electric resistant? Just Indian elephants are suffering here? Or perhaps Indian elephants are the only known elephants to exist in the Pokemon world, but then wouldn't you just call them elephants? Why would you specify if there are no other elephants in existence? And there are no mentions of any other sorts of real-world elephants anywhere in Pokemon besides Indian elephants, so it's very, very strange that this is in the game. And this is not the only Pokedex entry to mention an Indian elephant, amazingly. In the entry for Ghastly in Pokemon Fire Red, states, Ghastly is a being that exists as a thin gas. It can topple an Indian elephant by enveloping the prey in 2 seconds. This is the kind of thing I would expect to see in maybe the first Pokemon game, where absurd lore can be excused because Pokemon was not a mega franchise yet and they were just experimenting. So they're probably just making stuff up. They had a deadline, maybe there was 5 more minutes to write the storyline for Raichu, and they said that he kills Indian elephants without thinking about the lore implications of that. But this was in Pokemon Fire Red, the 3rd generation, and this was after the release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire even. So at this point, surely they understand that real-world animals being referenced in a Pokemon game would be strange, and it seems to only be Fire Red in particular that has ever mentioned Indian elephants. I mean, I don't know, maybe the fella who wrote the Fire Red Pokedex entries was just an Indian elephant superfan. Very cool animal, very understandable, but I don't think they realized what they did with this. Later on in the series, this was actually retconned. They erased Indian elephants from existence, and I personally take issue with that. They changed the Dex entry in Pokemon Legends Arceus to reference Copperajah, the elephant-based Pokemon from Gen 8, rather than a more general Indian elephant, which I believe to be pure cowardice. If you have a bold idea, do not compromise. Do not make up a new elephant Pokemon to replace the previous reference to real-world elephants. Put an Indian elephant in Pokemon and just call it Indian Elephant. Put that in the next game. You have hinted at it for long enough. Very disappointed in Game Freak with this one, compromising their pure artistic vision to appeal to the masses. Afraid of the controversy of including a real-world animal in the game despite prior foreshadowing. But they still have time to right this wrong. Gen 10's on the way, okay? Release the Indian elephant. That's all I have to say about that. Now we all know Muck, don't we? Of course we do. Muck is the most popular Pokemon of all time according to community voting. This is an objective fact. Muck is the glue, the sludge that holds society together. Without it, I don't know what we'd do. But Muck was not always Muck. Muck was once Grimer. But the real question is, where did Grimer come from? And the answer might just shock you to the bone. Pokemon Stadium Dex entry. Grimer is sludge that was transformed when exposed to X-rays from the moon. And also he loves sludge, industrial waste, and other refuse. We knew that part, but what did you say? X-rays from the moon, was it? X-rays from the moon. Mrs. Monette is the one to discover this disturbing fact. Thank you for the information. How do I even begin to process this undeniable canonical piece of fact here? X-rays are used, I think, to see the bones inside of people. They can see through you and look at your bones. Very frightening stuff. I don't believe the moon emits X-rays on its own. Believe me, I've looked it up. I don't think that happens. So why would X-rays be coming from the moon? Clefairy. Was it Clefairy responsible for this? A Pokemon known to build certain advanced technology on the moon for presently unknown purposes. Frankly, it's the only thing that makes any sense. It had to have been Clefairy. Now, Clefairy building an X-ray on the moon I can buy into based on what we know so far about the franchise. But X-rays creating life itself when exposed to sludge, that is a bit of a logical leap. Unless referring to them as X-rays in the Pokedex was just a limited understanding of what they truly were. Perhaps Clefairy is building a technology beyond comprehension. A muck generator. A muck creator. Yes, what I'm suggesting is, based on the clues given to us by the director, Clefairy has genetically engineered Muck for nefarious purposes. Now, I thought that I trusted Muck. I thought Muck was altruistic, but now that I know that he was created by an alien species, possibly plotting domination of Earth, I'm no longer sure what to believe. I just don't know anymore. And it is with a heavy heart that I'm going to have to put in a request to, at least for now, remove Muck Monday from the calendar, just until we have more information, okay? I don't know if I feel comfortable celebrating Muck Monday in this climate right now, with what we've learned. And I hope you understand. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, Jimothy, it seems like Pokemon lore is not very serious. It seems like they just make up funny stuff without thinking about how it all connects together, meticulously like George R.R. Martin or somebody else. Okay, Pokemon is a game for children. It's not supposed to be taken so seriously. There's no grander implications to Clefairy piloting spacecrafts for the moon. They just thought that would be funny for children. They didn't think about the greater implications of what that means for the universe. And I have a counterpoint to this. I have a counterpoint with a piece of lore that I find to be very intelligent that I think really clicks all of this together. Ponyta, little horse, fire horse, okay? Ponyta's analysis in the games implies the existence of both the real-world country of France and the real-world country of Australia. And I did not just get this information from any old random source. This is from Pigrat6985, who's a trusted source on this sort of thing. And I double-checked if it was true, and it is all true. It says right here in Pokemon Stadium, Ponyta is capable of jumping over the Eiffel Tower in a single giant leap. Its hooves are 10 times harder than diamonds. There's nothing stupid or absurd about this very small horse creature being able to jump over A 300-meter tall, real-world famous landmark. Okay, he's probably just trying to reach the Clefairy UFO spacecraft, or at least get as close as possible, okay? All these things have a logical through line. And not only can Little Horse jump very high, France and the Eiffel Tower exist in Pokemon, which is a little bit absurd because there's also a region called Kalos inspired by France, which also has a similar structure to the Eiffel Tower. So not only does Kalos exist with Pokemon's version of Eiffel Tower, there is also a real France here, so that's smart, that's very good. And also, in the Pokemon Fire Red Dex entry for Ponyta, guess what it says? Its body is light, and its legs are incredibly powerful. It can clear Ayers Rock in one leap. Ayers Rock is a natural wonder found in my country of Australia, more commonly referred to by its native name of Uluru. And I gotta be honest, I'm a bit shocked that they called it Ayers Rock, the British colonial name, and not the native name, in the damn Pokedex for Fire Red. What an absurd thing to learn today. What the hell are they doing? What makes it even stranger is that apparently in Japanese, in the original text, it said that Ponyta can jump over the Tokyo Tower. So in English translation, they changed that to Uluru from Australia, incredibly large rock. Suppose that's equivalent to Tokyo Tower? What are you talking about? And this of course also implies the existence of Tokyo and therefore Japan, which has its own ramifications. I'm gonna need to see a Pokemon world map after all this. A complete one, with France and Australia on it, and of course the Kanto region and all the Pokemon regions established in the video games. I need the full picture to really put this all together. Raichu turned into Alolan Raichu because of Pancakes, says Snoring. Now this one I just refuse to believe. This cannot be true. I've put up with enough absurdity today. This one is made up. It loves pancakes, says Let's Go Pikachu Pokedex. It loves them prepared with a secret Alolan recipe. Some wonder whether that recipe holds the key to this Pokemon's evolution. There's further evidence here with an image of Pikachu and Raichu-Alola holding some pancakes. The theory is that Raichu Kanto existed in Alola, ate pancakes, became a whole other species. Is this plausible? I suppose with what we've learned so far and the insanity we've come to accept, I wouldn't put it past them. But based on the wording here, this appears to be local folklore, not a true scientific fact within the universe. So, Snoring, I would push back against your assertion that this is the objective truth. It appears that this is just a fan theory or an in-universe folk theory that, if you don't mind my saying, I believe to be a flavorful piece of lore. This is true world building right here. This was written by George R.R. This is well considered. In real life, people play up folklore and make up stories to drive tourism, so this would probably help with the sales of Alolan pancakes if they are associated with the formation of an entire new species of Raichu. That's just smart business right there. Okay, it's like that one city that says the Mothman is from there, and they sell Mothman chocolates or whatever. That's just good business. Speaking of intelligence, Geodude. This is a solid rock with arms, an iconic creature. Undeniably. It states in the Pokemon Fire Red Pokedex. Its round form makes it easy to pick up. Some people have used them to hurl at each other in a snowball fight. One of the greatest minds of our time, FishRocker95, has illuminated the absurdity of this statement. Geodude is a extraordinarily heavy and large rock creature that weighs 20 kilograms and is about 400 centimeters tall. In what circumstance would a person pick up Geodude, think that it is a snowball, and throw a 20-kilogram rock creature with a face at somebody else, presumably ending their life? What are they even talking about here? People think that he's a snowball and doesn't look like snow. He's extraordinarily large. Snowballs are not something you find and throw. You create a snowball by gathering snow and forming it into a ball. It's not as if, oh, there's where I left my snowball. Pick up the Geodude. What are you, stupid? Now, I've gained a newfound appreciation today for the intricate foreshadowing and consistent symbolism and motifs present in Pokemon that all very harmoniously come together to form a complete story. But this is just ridiculous. Geodude being mistaken for a snowball and thrown at people in snowball fights. What are you saying? You sound insane. Now, I could see Forretress perhaps being mistaken for a golf ball or a basketball, but Geodude, a snowball? They don't even look alike. Be serious with me. Be genuine with me. Now, when I asked the viewers at home for humorous Pokemon lore, the top comment here from Dingus Balingus I assumed was a funny joke. They state that Entei disguised himself as my late father, of which I take great offense. Okay, a funny little quip from Dingus Balingus as usual, but then I dug deeper and I realized, no, this was completely true, and there was an entire film about it. In Pokemon 3, the movie, which I think was directed by David Lynch, a girl called Molly has her father trapped in another dimension, so Unknown, the Pokemon Unknown, bands together with other of its species to create a fake Entei to pretend to be her father for some reason. I didn't view the film. I gotta watch this to get the context, I think. But I've looked up the plot summary. Is this the real life Entei, or is this a fake Entei? And why would it have to be Entei pretending to then be someone's father? Why couldn't they just skip the middle step and make it the father if it's an illusion anyway? And how come... why would Entei be tasked with doing... I don't even... David Lynch works in mysterious ways, and why was there a horse that randomly appeared in that person's living room? What was all that about? We will never know, I think. We will never know. I apologize that you went through that, Dingus Bellingus. That must have been traumatic. I don't understand why Entei thought that was appropriate. A bit bizarre. Don't worry, I'll let Entei know that this kind of behavior is not on. Entei happens to live in my house, so I'll go ahead and tell him. Now, according to Jonathan, who I trust, apparently the only time a Masterball was ever used in the Pokemon anime was on a Whiscash, which in itself is absurd. But not only was it only used on a Whiscash, it failed to catch the Whiscash. Now that just doesn't add up with what we know of the Pokemon universe. Let me see if this is the truth or not. Here we have the evidence. There's the Masterball, and it's being thrown by a strange-looking individual at Whiscash, who... oh, that makes sense. He ate the thing. Well, that was just a poor throw, I think. Now that I've done my own research, I've come to my own conclusion here. I think you've misconstrued the scenario. Eating a Pokeball, whether it's a Masterball or not, would certainly prevent it from catching the Pokemon. The Pokeball has to hit them, and then it opens up, and the red stuff comes out, and then you get them. That's how it works. Eating the Pokeball is great counterplay, and I believe that Whiscash is simply adapting to the unfortunate world it lives in. It wants to maintain its independence, and it is refusing to be shackled. And I, for one, commend this behavior. And I consider it a skill issue on the part of the trainer to not have aimed the Master Ball better. Now, a few of you have brought up the fact that in Generation 1, the genius Bill, who came up with the Pokemon PC and other technologies, transforms himself into a Chansey, implying that humans can transform into Pokemon. And then this is never addressed again. They never bring this up, and that just happens, and there's no elaboration or further exposition on what that even means. Now, this is one of the stranger artistic choices for David. Now, he's known for introducing subplots that don't go anywhere and not necessarily following a logical through line of events in his films. Bill becoming a Pokemon has spiritual significance.
Mm-hmm. Why elaborate on that?
No, I won't. No one sees it.
Well, that was certainly no help, was it? I suppose we'll never know the answer to that one. And finally, I'll end this video with a revelation that I never thought about before, to be honest, when playing the Pokemon games, but it's a damn good point from Eclipse Kirby, who raises the question of how come psychic-type trainers, human beings, seem to have actual psychic powers. Like they can make Pokeballs float and have telekinesis and stuff. Why do human beings have psychic powers in the Pokemon universe as, you know, a surface level flavor to signify that they are a psychic type trainer? But this is never addressed or explained, seemingly. I cannot believe I never questioned that. That is strange. And it is weird that they've never explained that one. Can other humans gain psychic powers if all of their Pokemon are psychic type? Do they learn from the psychic type Pokemon and swap ideas? Or perhaps are psychically gifted people inclined towards catching psychic type Pokemon because they feel a kinship with them? These are just some of my theories, and this is the kind of genius world building that really creates mystery and intrigue in a universe, and I commend them for it. Very good. Now, let me do a quick rapid fire here of some that I thought were funny but didn't have much to say about beyond, damn, that's crazy. The Curtis said that Yanmega can carry and fly a fully grown adult, but cannot learn the move Fly. Hope someone got fired for that blunder. Pretty embarrassing. Many have pointed out that Gardevoir can allegedly create black holes, according to the smart scientists who put together the Pokedex, even though that is absolutely absurd. And there's no example of this ever happening, plus that would destroy the fabric of reality. You cannot just say stuff, Pokemon Dex creators. You cannot just say something is the truth without any evidence. It is said that Greedent has an entire galaxy inside of its stomach. See, I can do it too. I can just say something. There's no evidence, but who needs evidence in this chaotic, lawless world of Pokemon, where science is just vibes-based? I could just simply say something and it goes into a scientific device, universal to the world, as if it's a smartphone in our world that we use for valued info. What use is the Pokedex if it makes the absurd assertion that Macago is hotter than the sun? That would destroy Earth. That doesn't make any sense. If children are writing this, which is sort of believable, why is it not a separate device called the Children's View on Pokemon Stupid Thesaurus, Stupid Encyclopedia or something, rather than a scientific, in-universe equivalent to an encyclopedia called the Pokedex, is supposed to be an authority on such information, and yet, clearly they do not let anyone above the age of 7 write these things. And they really didn't think through the Rattata Pokedex entry. It says here, will chew on anything with its fangs. Oh, anything? What about tungsten or magma? What about chips, beans, and cheese for 1 pound? Would you chew on that, Rattata? I'd like to see you try. The Pokemon universe is a mysterious and chaotic place where lore is constantly absurd and contradictory to itself. My conclusion here is that I think that the nation of Australia and France should come together and put aside their differences to fight against the common enemy of Clefairies on the moon. Perhaps Ponyta will be able to jump high enough to intercept their spacecraft so that they cannot turn any more toxic sludge into living beings aiming to invade our cities. No, I am not crazy. Thank you for watching.